So I'm going to be ranking every single diet that I know of for weight loss, and I'm going to be judging them purely on how efficient they are at losing weight. This is not going to be centered about your gym performance, about your health or anything. This is just about losing the weight, and we're going to start it off with the carnivore diet. It's one of my absolute favorite diets, I gotta say, and that has to go straight into S tier, because if you're just eating meat, how are you going to overeat? Realistically, because meat is so satiating and it gives you so many nutrients and vitamins. It's going to fill you up pretty quickly and you're going to be happy. So carnivore has to be S tier, because you're only eating red meat. Maybe you're eating chicken every now and again, maybe pork. I don't eat pork, but a lot of you do, and fish, I guess. But it's like sort of you're so limited that you sort of don't want to overeat, because like I got my calories in, I'm fine now, I don't want to eat anymore. So carnivore has to go straight into S tier. And next up, let's go with the paleo diet. The paleo diet is basically carnivore, but you're also eating fruit and vegetables. Like technically paleo actually means that you don't eat processed foods such as like Rice Krispies or Nutella or some bullshit like that. And it's basically just meat, fruit, vegetables, maybe some nuts and seeds. And honestly, this goes into B tier for me, because the paleo diet, it excludes a lot of the bad foods that make it easy to put on weight. But it's also like really tasty because once you go paleo for a long time, which I did, then you really figure out how messed up your taste buds were. Like, for example, cake, cookies, and all that stuff that would be considered delicious right now. That stuff didn't even taste good after I did paleo. And I just fried my taste buds so much and made them so resistant to sugar that I needed something really sweet to actually taste good sweetness. Like, it's a bit like a drug. Like, you get used to it and you get used to the taste of cookies and cake, so it tastes good to you. But once you go like paleo and you eat like meat, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, you actually start to get sensitized a bit more again to sugar. And then fruits start tasting really good, and stuff like chocolate is actually way too sweet then. It's actually crazy that I always thought it was an old people thing. Turns out it's just a diet thing. If you don't eat a lot of sweets are gonna be very, very sweet to you and not as tasty. So paleo diet is B tier for me, because it was just so tasty and so delicious that I just ate way too much, honestly. I sort of lost a bit of weight, but paleo was really not the best way for me to lose weight, even though it is a really healthy way to live overall. So yeah, that's going in B tier, because as I said, we're not speaking about health here. And next up, let's go with, we gotta pick a bad one now. What about tracking calories? Okay, a lot of people in the fitness industry seem to like this, and they seem to like doing this. It's basically the holy grail of bodybuilders. And problem is, I only really know one person who's lost weight with that successfully. I have a lot of friends and acquaintances who tried this, but none of them actually lost a significant amount of weight. And the only person I know that really lost weight with this is myself, to be honest, because it just fits me. I feel like I have a bit of autism, and tracking what I eat really helps me. I actually have one more friend. He does bodybuilding, so he has to do it. Like, it's his bread and butter, okay? So he also succeeded with tracking, but yeah, I only know myself and another guy who succeeded at losing weight by just tracking their calories. So it's going into C tier, because it really requires discipline, and it just requires you to stay within your caloric deficit, which apparently is pretty hard for most people, as you can see by the obesity rates. So that's going into C tier, because if everyone could do it, no one would be overweight. Next up, let's go with low carb. Man, carbs are a tricky thing, you know, like they boost your performance in the gym, but obviously that's not what this is about, this video. But they're just so like not satiating, I feel like. Like, you eat a carb and you get a bit stupider at first, you get the carb crash and you're just a good for nothing. But afterwards you get some energy, but in terms of satiation, like fat and protein are way more satiating. So limiting carbs is something I really like, and I'm gonna put it into B tier for that reason. A lot of gym community seems to be hating on the low carb, no carb approach, but if you actually want to lose weight and you're not a gym cell, it's really good. Next up, we got the sugar diet. The sugar diet, it's retarded, but it's S tier for weight loss because you're literally malnutritioning yourself. Like, you're starving and you're malnutrition, but you're gonna lose the weight, okay? So that's S tier, man. That's the rules I set. Hate the player, not the game. Well, I created the game. I'm both the player and the game, so just hate me, I guess. But let's move on to fasting. This is just not eating for at least a day. I'm not speaking about intermittent fasting. We'll get to that later. But fasting for me is A tier, actually. I wanted to put it into S tier, and if you have a bit of discipline or you're a bit of a masochist maybe, then it's S tier for sure. Like, for me it would be S tier because for some reason I'm like messed up and I enjoy being hungry a bit now. So I honestly love fasting, and I think it's way easier to not eat something for very long than to just eat normally but a small amount, if you get what I'm saying. Like, once you're in the flow of not eating, it's easier to stay that way. Like, it's way harder to eat 3 times a day and stay consistent than just not eat at all during a day. So that's why I'm putting fasting into A, and I've seen it be that way for a lot of people, but I can't put it into S tier because I haven't seen enough people pull it off consistently. But I've seen people pull this off in the short term. I love to pull this off sometimes, and I really enjoy it because, I don't know, I'm retarded, I guess. But let's get to intermittent fasting, actually, which is basically the same thing, but you only give yourself a certain time period in the day to eat. Usually people do an 8-hour eating window, so from, I think, 4 to 10 or something like that, most people do it. That's actually only 6 hours. I don't know. Basically, you just give yourself a time frame between 4 to 8 hours to eat. And this just makes sure that, first of all, you're fasted for a long time. And if you get 4 to 8 hours, it's almost like physically impossible to overeat, because how much are you going to realistically eat in not even half a day? That's the thing why a lot of Muslims during Ramadan lose so much weight. They're just not eating for the entire day. And then when it's time to eat, obviously the sun is setting, it's getting late. Like, they don't even have time to consume 2k calories. Like, they don't have the space for it to digest it all and then, just eat more. So that's why intermittent fasting has to go into B tier for me. I'm putting it into B tier because you can also just say, okay, I'll eat from 2 to 10, which is quite a large window, and it's still legit, and you'd probably still lose weight. And I am doing this for most of my days right now, but I haven't seen too many people be able to pull this off consistently, and it's just too varied. There's way too many ways to do the intermittent fasting diet, so I'm putting it into B tier. You could put it into A tier, but I'm leaving it in B for now. And let's go with vegan next. Honestly, vegan diet is pretty bad. I hate it because it's just like malnutrition. You're not getting proper nutrients and vitamins that you need to get from meat. But you would probably lose weight because the vegan diet doesn't taste good at all. Like, come on, it's not. But you do get a lot of, you're gonna eat a lot of grains and bread, and these really aren't that satiating and don't make weight loss too easy. So I'm gonna put it in B tier because you're taking out so many foods, and you're also taking out fatty foods, which obviously make weight loss harder. But it just, I can't put it any higher than that if you're relying on grains, on rice, on chickpea protein powder, on soybeans. Like, I'm sorry, it's not going above B tier. Also because it messes up your hormones, and hormones actually make weight loss and weight gain easier or harder. Like, basically they have very important, they have a lot of impact. So let's go with the complete opposite again, which is carnivore, but this time in the raw variant. And this is going straight into S tier, man. I think it's the best way to lose weight for pretty much anyone. if you're willing to eat raw meat, because obviously raw carnivore, it requires you to eat raw meat. And you're just so limited that it has to go into S tier in my opinion. And carnivore is already in S tier. Like just eating meat, you're going to lose weight. Now, if you choose to eat this meat in a raw form, you're going to eat less of it, because let's just be honest, raw meat doesn't taste as good as cooked meat. I'd be happy to see some raw carnivores in the comments say, oh no, you're wrong, I actually like it better raw. But I think that's cope. Like, I respect raw carnivore. It's like one of the best ways you can eat in my opinion. It's very close to the optimal eating in my opinion, like raw meat, raw eggs and stuff. It is pretty much the perfect diet, and it is what we humans are built for. So you won't gain weight on that because you're just eating like you're supposed to eat. But it's also due to just not being super palatable and super tasty. So it has to go into S tier naturally. And next up, we have another raw way of eating, which is the raw vegan way of eating. A lot of you probably won't even know this exists, and it honestly shouldn't in my opinion. But it has to go into S tier because just like the sugar diet, it's severe malnutrition and you're going to lose a lot of weight from that, okay? Don't do this. I think a woman actually died doing this pretty recently. Like, she ate raw vegan and she just died of malnutrition, obviously. And yeah, I wouldn't do this, but for weight loss, it's S tier, man. I gotta be honest. Then we have keto. So the ketogenic diet, it's just basically no carbs to almost no carbs. The only goal of eating keto is that your body relies on fat cells for energy, because our body can choose from three sources how it makes energy. Those are protein, carbs, and fat. You probably have heard of these three because of like gym cell culture and all that. And typically our body chooses carbs, but if you don't eat carbs, it has to choose between fats and proteins, and our body really doesn't like choosing proteins as its fat source. So it chooses fat cells and it converts them into ketones. So what's selling this diet is basically you're using your body's fat cells as energy, so you lose fat. Like, that's sound logic right there. And if you eat this way, you will definitely lose some good weight, especially because you're literally burning fat, like literally, but your body will also put on fat easier because you're like eating fat, your body's making fat, but then it's using that fat again as energy. And basically you just can't spike your insulin. So if you eat 100 grams of protein, you spike your insulin, and you've actually kicked yourself out of ketosis, which is not what you want to do. And if you eat more than 6 grams of carbs, you will also spike your insulin and then will also be kicked out of keto. So I'm putting this into A tier. Like, it's amazing for weight loss, but it's also not really easy to pull off, especially if you're like a normal human and you go outside to eat like some pasta or pizza or something like that. And that can make stuff a lot more difficult for a lot of people. Now, the last but not least at all actually, is 1 meal a day. And just like I explained for intermittent fasting, if you give yourself such a small time window to eat, it's impossible to overeat, okay? Like, everybody, let's say you're a man, you have a caloric need of maybe, let's say 2.3K, even if you don't go outside, even if you just exist sitting down at home when watching TV, you're still gonna burn a set amount of calories for your body to function. And if you just eat 1 meal a day, it's impossible to get over that amount because you can't eat 3K calories at once. Okay, like maybe some retarded food YouTuber can do it, but normal people can't eat this much. So 1 meal a day would go into S tier, but it requires quite a lot of discipline. So I'm putting it into A tier, but it deserves S tier actually. Because the sugar diet is easy to pull off. Just eat sugar. Sugar tastes good to humans. Carnivore, in my opinion, is also really easy. You just got to be able to afford it. Raw carnivore is not that easy, but it's so easy to lose weight that I can't put it any lower than S. Raw vegan, I'd actually move down raw vegan, because who wants to eat fruit and vegetables all day? So yeah, this is the final list. Thank you everyone for watching, and have luck on your weight loss journeys.